What is going on, you guys? This is VM Video Master here, and today I got something very special for you. This isn't another Christmas tale. Today I thought I would do something different. We've all heard different scary stories like Slender Man, Laughing Jack, we've heard them all. But have you ever wondered what other scary stories are around the world? Well, tonight I have a I have a few scary stories up my sleeve that might just get you thinking what other countries have their own special tales. Well, tonight, enjoy these. But before we begin, if you know someone else who likes the supernatural, share this video with them. There's a chill that runs down your spine when they knock. At first, it sounds like a gentle tap, tap, tap. But when you open the door, it's not your neighbors, and it's not your friends. No one should be standing outside on a night like this with eyes darker than the night itself, piercing through your soul, begging to come inside. It was a cold autumn evening when Carl was home alone, wrapped in a blanket, watching a late night horror movie. The wind howled through the trees, the kind of night where nothing should be outside. That's when he heard the knock. At first he thought it was just his imagination, but then it came again. Tap, tap, tap. Carl hesitated, wondering who would be at his door at this hour. He looked out the peepholes but saw nothing. No cars, no shadows. Just the darkness of the night. His curiosity got the better of him, and he opened the door. Two children stood there, about 8 and 10 years old, drenched from the rain. Their clothes were tattered, their skin pale, and their hair matted to their faces. But it was their eyes that got to him. Their eyes were completely black, void of any iris or whites, just deep, bottomless black. Their voices were soft, pleading. "Can we come inside?" they asked in unison. Carl froze. There was something unnatural about their presence. He couldn't move, couldn't speak. The kids continued. "We're cold. We need help." Suddenly, an overwhelming sense of dread washed over him. He felt as if his body was being pulled toward them, like gravity itself was bending to their will. His mind screamed for him to close the door, but his hands wouldn't obey. It wasn't until the kids took a step forward that Carl finally snapped out of it. He slammed the door shut, his heart pounding in his chest. The knocking stopped, but the fear didn't. For the rest of the night, Carl couldn't shake the feeling that those black-eyed children were still outside, waiting and listening. The next morning, Carl was found dead on his front porch, his eyes as black as the night, his hands still frozen in the motion of opening the door. No one ever saw the black-eyed children again, but the townspeople say that every now and then, if you listen closely, you can hear the same knock. Tap, tap, tap. So the next time someone knocks at your door in the dead of night, don't open it. Because once you invite them in, they never leave, and neither will you. Now this story will really get you thinking about mirrors. Mirrors have a way of distorting reality. A reflection is supposed to show you who you are. But what if the mirror starts showing you something or someone you aren't supposed to be? Aiko had recently moved to an old house on the outskirts of Kyoto. The house had a history, but she didn't mind. It was inexpensive and she needed a place to live. As she unpacked her belongings, she found an antique mirror in the attic. It was beautiful, ornate with delicate carvings along the edges. Intrigued, she decided to hang it in her bedroom. That night, after a long day of moving, she went to bed early. But she couldn't sleep. Every time she looked up, she saw the reflection of herself in the mirror. It seemed normal at first, but then she noticed something unsettling. Her reflection wasn't moving in sync with her. It would move slightly after her. It was as if it were lagging behind. Aiko turned away quickly, hoping it was just exhaustion playing tricks on her. But the next night, it happened again. This time, her reflection wasn't just delayed, it was moving on its own, smiling, a smile that Aiko didn't recognize. Terrified, she covered the mirror with a sheet, but it didn't help. The next morning, Aiko was woken up by the sound of soft whispering voices. When she opened her eyes, she saw her reflection in the mirror, her face twisted in an unnatural grin, eyes wide open, staring directly at her. She tried to look away, but the reflection followed her every move. The whispering grew louder, and in a cold voice it spoke, "You are mine now." Aiko was never seen again. The only thing left was her reflection in the mirror, always smiling, always watching, waiting for the next soul to claim. So remember this: next time you gaze into a mirror, ask yourself, is that really you looking back? Or is it something else? Now, this story, I think, was based on on the scary movie, The Hitchhiker. The roads may seem empty when you drive alone at night, but sometimes the empty roads are not as empty as they seem. But sometimes the people who appear on them are not as human as they appear. Connor had always taken the long way home after his late shifts at the pub. One chilly evening, as he drove down a desolate county road, he noticed a figure standing on the side of the road. A woman in a white dress, drenched from the rain, her hair sticking to her face. He slowed down and rolled down his window. "Are you all right?" he asked. The woman looked up, her eyes wide with desperation. "Please, I need a ride. I've been stranded for hours." Connor, a bit uneasy but feeling sorry for her, he nodded. "Hop in." She got into the car without a word, her presence unsettling, but Connor tried to focus on the road. They didn't speak much, only the soft hum of the engine filling the air. As they drove on, the woman began to point towards a cottage far off in the distance. "Just drop me off there," she said softly. Connor didn't question it. He pulled over at the gate, and as he turned to look at her, she was gone. Not a sound, not a trace. He searched the area, but there was no sign of the woman. Confused, he drove home. The next day, he asked around town about the cottage. The locals looked at him strangely. "That house," they said, "has been abandoned for over 30 years. The woman who lived there, well, she disappeared on a night, just like last night. Connor never drove down that road again, and every time someone drove by the cottage, they swore they could see a woman in a white dress standing by the gate waiting for a ride that would never come. You know, you guys, this story would teach you a lesson. Be careful who you pick up on a road like that. Some passengers don't ever get out. Ever. Now, this next story is a story we all know. The story of La Llorona, also known as the Weeping Woman. In every village, there's a legend about a woman who weeps for her lost children. But some legends have a way of making themselves known when you least expect it. And you may not live to tell the tale. Maria's family had always warned her about walking alone by the river at night. They spoke of La Llorona, the weeping woman who had drowned her children in the river and now wandered the night searching for them, crying in sorrow and rage. But Maria had always thought of it as an old folk tale to keep children inside at night. One evening, as she walked home from a friend's house, she decided to take the river path. It was a quiet night, and the moonlight shone eerily on the waters. That's when she heard it, a soft, sorrowful cry. Mijos, mijos. Maria stopped, heart pounding. The crying grew louder, closer. Then through trees, she saw a figure, a woman in white, her hands hidden in her hands, her hair long and black flowing like a dark river. The woman's sob echoed through the trees. Maria turned to run, but the woman's voice grew louder. Please, help me find them. Suddenly, the woman was in front of her, her eyes empty and hollow, her face twisted in torment. Why did you leave me? The woman whispered, her voice like ice. Why did you leave me? Maria was found by the river the next morning, her body cold and lifeless. Her face was frozen in terror, her eyes wide open, staring at something unseen. They say she was taken by La Llorona, lost forever, joining the others who are now trapped in her eternal search. You know, this goes to show you, if you ever hear the story of La Llorona, don't try to prove the story wrong, and don't try to prove it fake. But never wander by the river when the moon is full, because if you hear the weeping, you may not make it out alive. Well, you guys, I hope you enjoyed these scary stories from around the world. If you want to hear another one of these, let me know in the comments below which one I told was your favorite. And also, let me know in the comments below what kind of scary video you want to see next. I know most of you don't really comment, but I would really appreciate it if you did. So, I'm going to try and do more scary videos. That's one of my goals for next year. I'm going to try and do more scary videos for you guys. Anyway, I hope you guys have a good new year. I hope your Christmas was awesome. And remember, like I always say, I will see you in the next video.